I am the Senior Program Manager with Pearson VUE out of Denver, Colorado. We're going to talk about the fee structure, the registration process, the business and finance examination, and then the candidate experience through Pearson VUE. With us today to help us with this event, we have Gus Ashew, Bureau Chief for the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Alex Bosky, who is the I go through this every time.
The Exam Development Manager.
Exam Development Manager. We have David Cox, President of PTI, Dr. Cynthia Wooley, Vice President of PTI, and Maria Gonzalez, General Manager of PTI.
Professional testing in Orlando, and we are a test development vendor. Really, we've been working with the department as a test development vendor for about 30 years. So we've worked with most of the programs that the department administers, and we'll kind of explain what our role is. Our role really hasn't changed what we do for the department, and I think it's important to understand that professional testing never administered the exam. So the fees that the department is collecting now with this change in fee structure really is, addresses in some ways the fact that a lot of people were taking the exam. Any failing candidate really, took this exam multiple times without actually having to pay for the administrative fees, the cost of the site, the cost of the proctors, all the elements that make up the administration. Professional testing's contract, and Cynthia may answer some of your questions on that as well. Our contract with the state, the $135 is all the maintenance of those programs. So that's assembly of exam forms, writing and reviewing questions, keeping up with the references, supplying the reference library for the state, and all the aspects of review. We probably work with somewhere on the order of 150 to 250 subject matter experts that around the state that put together this exam. There's meetings going on all the time. We also have to prepare brand new exams. Business and finance is a good example of that. We went through a rewrite of that, a new job analysis established for it. Those kinds of processes are what professional testing is contracted to do with the state. So our role really hasn't changed, other than we now have this separate administration via computer for the business and finance exam. Even the fees that you're paying, it's identical. But if you failed one part, you still had to pay the $135 to take that next part, and that pays for, again, the maintenance of those programs. And that includes maintaining them in both Spanish and English. So when you think of all the questions that we maintain and have to account for, you can double that, because every exam also has to be administered in 2 languages. So anything else?
No, I had a couple of comments that maybe addressed a couple of questions here. You had a question about all of these being in one location, one fee. I think we all think that would be ideal if we could get it all in one place. Some of what's occurring now is beyond the control of the department, beyond the control of professional testing. For example, one of the reasons why you're having to the candidates are having to send a check versus doing it all together is because the department can't pay the credit card the convenience fee. So they can't actually accept a credit card for this part of it, at least not under the same system that we have now. And so that's requiring a 2-step process. We talked about going to a single check, just accepting a single check, but then for professional testing side, that means that candidates can no longer go online and register. And that's a convenience for a lot of candidates. So we thought, well, we don't want to take away that. So this is like the best of all worlds for the moment, until we can come up with something better, and hopefully down the road we may be able to come up with something better.
I wouldn't rule out that that's going to be impossible, and we'll continue to hold discussions with the department and see if there's a way of consolidating that.
It's possible that down the road we could come up with some other system where it's back to one fee. Maybe the vendors could work together so that you could pay one or the other vendor or something along those lines. We'll see. And then back to what David said, which is the question of the $135. We get that a lot. Why are you still getting $135 now that you're going to computer-based testing? But keep in mind, the $135 never covered the cost of the administration. It never paid for the administration. The department was eating those costs. They pay for the proctors, they pay for the sites, all that comes out of the department's budget, and they were waiting to collect it when the candidate paid their licensure fees, and as David just said, for the candidates who were failing, they were never collecting that fee. So the fact that we've gone to computer-based testing means the computer vendor needs to collect for their seat time, but professional testing is still managing the item bank for business and finance, still publishing the test forms to the computer-based test vendor. So that's why our fees are the same.
And the only other administrative side of that that we perform is the on-site scoring. We do provide that service. So all the elements, staff that are at the sites dealing with the on-site scoring is under professional testing. And then the isometric plumbing raters. There's teams of plumbing raters at every site as well. That could be impacted a little bit by this because it's a one-day exam. I think previously the plumbers took their exam on day one. Usually before they would get their scores on most quite about half of them were getting their scores on the second day. So our isometric raters had a little more time. So it could be a longer wait to get those scores, and we'll work out issues associated with that if we can.
That's a really good point, and I think you should tell your plumbing candidates this, that if plumbing candidates are going to take the trade knowledge exam, they have to be patient with waiting for their scores to come out, because we used to have an overnight to allow our isometric graders, the 3 graders, to grade those isometric drawings. Now we will not have that. So we get all those exams at noon or whenever after the first session. It's going to take whatever time it's going to take for all of those isometric graders to grade all of those. So your candidates may be done in the afternoon, but they may have to sit around and wait for their isometric drawings to be graded. They're just going to have patience, or however long it takes us to do that.
But they will be able to get a score that day?
That's
Sure.
our goal.
Sure.
That's our goal.
Now, it has always been the case that you could literally just leave, and we
We'll
will
mail
mail
it.
out the score report to you. So there's no requirement for you to stay there and get your on-site score. But like all of us, we're kind of anxious to get that information, so people will wait for it. Plumbing has the greatest problem, just because there's a manual process of going through that and rating those drawings without getting into all those questions, unless you have questions about it.
That's it. So we'll turn over to Maria.
Oh, and I guess I would just continue to stress what Gus has brought up is the total fee to a candidate hasn't changed at all if you are if you get through all parts. So preparation is important. So I think for a candidate who gets through all parts on the first pass, there's zero impact in terms of cost. It hasn't gone up any. And then again, the fees to PTI are the same as it always was. If you failed a part, you still had to repay that $135. And to Alex's point, obviously the best value for your candidates is to register for the trade knowledge and the business and finance with PTI at the same time, because then it's $135. Same as it is now. When you register for both parts, it's not going to be $235 fees. It's going to be $135 when you register for both the business and finance and the trade knowledge. So just like it is now. So, all right. And with that, I'll turn it over to Maria.